Hey, welcome back all you DIYers. Today we got a new project and it's a 2014 Ford Escape, and we got some brakes we got to put on the rear and we'll show you how to do that. So let's get started. Alright, so in order to get started we got to get the vehicle up off the ground, and we got to take these lug nuts and everything off. I've already broke them loose with my impact. I will have to say, one thing that was real easy about noticing that these were in need of some repair was looking through these nice spoked wheels and being able to see the rotor itself. I'm going to pull this off and I'll show you guys. Pull it off here. And typically this surface right here is your surface for braking and everything. It is all grooved up. It should be nice and smooth. So this was our first culprit saying, hey, we got an issue with this back here. So what I'm going to start doing is I just looked inside, seen that, and I was like, hey, we probably should do something about this. So next thing is, well, I'll go ahead and start pulling this all apart, and I'll show you a little bit closer what the rotor looks like after we pull it out, and we'll check to see what these brake pads look like too. So I'm going to get started on this, and then I'll show you kind of how I got to take things apart as I go. Alright, so now we got the wheel off. Time to go ahead and start getting into taking out the caliper and taking everything apart. You notice there's a wire on here. This is a little keeper that kind of keeps everything kind of bundled in there and tight. With the new pads and everything we got, we actually got these from Napa. Let me grab them. Here we are. These are these silent guard. There's the broke out some of that light. There you go, now you can see those. There's the pads we put on the rear, and they come with a new little wire keeper there too, so not a problem. We can pull this wire off. Pretty simple. These two pins are stuck in here, and then they're trying to be held in place by this wire. So it's just a matter of pulling that out just far enough to get that to release, and pull it from outside of that caliper right there. So remember how this goes back together. This is, once the new ones are in here, they're going to be a little tighter. So it's going to be a little more snug, a little more difficult to put in. So it's proven just get out of there. All right. So that one's out. Then there's, just like a lot of the other calipers, there are two bolts in the back, but these have a little plastic cap over them. There we go. There's one cap, and the other cap. Now, I will say, the reason these are a little bit different, I say that they're different, is because the back of these actually take a hex Allen wrench type, and so I got a ratchet with a piece on here. This is actually got to use 7mm what fit this. I just got these. These are a Pittsburgh from Harbor Freight, so these work out really nice. Then you got plenty of room back here. Break these loose. Top one and bottom one. And if you have just a regular set of Allen wrenches, I'm sure that would work just fine too. Not a problem. I can see underneath as they pull back apart or pull away from the caliper bracket that's here. This is the caliper and the bracket that it hooks onto. Once you back them out a little bit, they spin out of there. And there we go, back them off enough. Now, there's usually some good tension that's still on here from using them. So usually it's the best thing I've found to use to get them to come out of there. I just use a screwdriver here. A lot better than pinching my fingers in here. work them back and forth a little bit, like that. And there we go. That caliper is now out of the way. Here's our pads here, and they're just sitting down kind of in this little, in that bracket. And we have to take that bracket off next in order to replace the rotor itself. Rotor's not attached by anything other than the pressure that the wheel put on it to hold it in place, and maybe this little bracket. But you can see that bracket's not touching anything there, so it's just, it's there for the caliper itself. I will show you. Here's the difference in these pads. You can see these here. I'll bring them up close. See how thick those are. Now that's that one with the little spring on there. That one's on the back. Here's the new one. So you can see there's substantial difference, but man, the grooving that's been going on here, that's not what we want to see. And these, of course, they got the Ford marker on here anyway still, so they're probably the original ones that came on here. So it's not too old. It's a 14 or 15 Escape, so they're not terribly old, I guess, depending on how many miles you put on it. But the next thing, like we got those pads out. The next thing we need to do next is we're going to go ahead and take this bracket off here. The bracket on here, I just got a 13 millimeter. It goes on the back. There we go. Now that bracket can come off. Now, like I said, this thing here, there's not, since the emergency brake is part of your caliper here, you can see by that big spring that's here on the top, when you apply your emergency brake, that'll pull that stuff in. So the nice thing about these is they do not have that inside brake, drum brake piece that's on the inside of here also. But it's not just popping off, so I'm going to persuade it a little bit, give it a couple. There we go. There we go. So there we go. We've got our disc off. Oh, I wanted to show you. Here is, well, one second. I'll let you know the calipers were put on here is the Napa brand. Also, there's the 4 and the 8s and a whole lot of numbers there. That's the, these are the discs we're putting on. And I'll show you. Now these are new, I'll give you that, but you can see the difference. I hope this comes through on there too, because you can see those grooves in there, right? And the shine of the light there maybe. I hope y'all can see that. Here's the new ones. I mean, look how nice and smooth those are. And in fact, here, I'm going to take you guys up and show you what they're up front. Alright, so look at in here. You can see those. Look how shiny those are. That is the way that's supposed to look. So, like I said, these have probably been replaced before, but they never did replace the back ones. So, let's get back to the back. Alright, so yeah, so after seeing those front ones, yeah, you could see why the back ones really need to be something done with them. So, next thing we do, put the new disc on here. Now, like I said, it's not going to set it on here quite right because it really doesn't get set into place until we get the wheel put on. So it's going to be just a little loose or something there for right now. Here's our bracket to be putting our pads back on. But the one thing that's kind of nice that you can do right now, since these pads ride right inside of those little edges right there, on each side. I take my little steel brush here. I don't know if you can see all that crap that's coming out of there. I actually clean those up a little bit. There, that's better. So now, when we go put those new pads in, we'll put a little bit of brake grease and stuff on those, so they'll slide a little better. But this will definitely help them out. One thing I do try to remember to do. I don't know if you've seen my brake video I did before, but you can go back and check some of my other videos. I about lost a whole caliper off of my truck. I will say it wasn't my fault, but it does make me realize how important it is to, you know, put on a little bit of blue Loctite. That blue Loctite will not leave them permanently on there, but helps keep from any vibration of everything coming out. So not a bad idea to do that, especially after my situation. Heck, I think I drove around on it for a while as I did it, and I couldn't believe I let it go that long. But I thought I just had a squeaky brake or was about due for some new brakes after I got a new truck, and it was a little more than that. So I'll get those down there nice and tight. Like I said, that thing doesn't hold it in, but it keeps it from falling off now. So next thing is we can go ahead and put some grease on here, and we can go and get this thing turned back. So one thing, let me go grab some grease. Alright, so I just got some little braking caliper grease here. So I'm just going to dab a little each one of those four corners. Like that, no big deal. Now, one thing I will say that is not necessarily essential, but it does kind of make things a little bit easier, is I have this little braking caliper kit here. This really is, I believe I probably got it from Harbor Freight also, but it's an MF11-1. I've had this for several years. And what it is, it allows you to do a couple of different things. As you well know, you can use a big C-clamp or something like that to push that caliper back in. But on many of these vehicles now, especially on these Fords and Lincolns, you have to spin the caliper back in. So in this case, like on this one right here, this little kit here allows me to flip this thing over, and I can actually use it as a just as a pusher, or I can use, and there's several different discs in there for different size calipers and stuff. But in this one right here, I can use this one here that's got these two prongs on it, and those two prongs right there, and I can stick that inside, because you can see those two prongs that are inside of there. Maybe you get it lined up there. Maybe you can see it. So I can get these lined up. And once I can get those lined up, oh, gotta get this on the inside too. Get everything lined up where it should, and then I can start to spin this thing back in. Nice and slowly, because I don't want to push that oil out of that reservoir, so I just go nice and slow. Hey, if you're at home and you're doing this job yourself, you're wanting to save some money. That's what I'm trying to help you guys out do too. So, matter of fact, go down and hit that subscribe button. You'll see a whole bunch more stuff that I come out with, and cars and home and projects around the house, just all kinds of stuff that I hope I can help you save a few bucks on. So, get this thing spun all the way back in. All right, there we go. There's the end. Now here's the trick. You can't just spin it right back out because that doesn't want to spin out that way. So you got to grab the inside piece here, right here, and try and break that a little bit loose. There we go. And then I can drop that out of there. Now get our new pads right here. Remember that one here at the spring goes on the inside. The one here on the outside just going to set here, just like that on the outside. And then put our caliper back over the top. Top one started. Get back with our Allen wrench. Now, that wire that was on the top and the back, that actually is keeping that thing, you see that kind of springs back up. That's what that's there for, is to help keep that lined up. So now you can kind of push it in there a little bit, get that bottom bolt there lined up. Screw that one back in. I just did these hand tight. And now, the fun part. The fun part of putting this back in. So, if you remember, it's got to go in here. So it's easy to get that first one on. But to get the second one on is the challenge. And what I've figured out, I'm just going to tap that one in. Get my screwdriver out. See, I didn't get it in there right. If I can get my screwdriver to pull that one around. Like that. Now then, I want to make sure that that one stays in there. Now, this one I got seated all the way down. That one is not still. I'm trying to use something that I can Alright, I want to make sure that's seated down in there because I sure as heck don't want that thing to come back out. Before we forget, I want to make sure we go back to the back side. I'm going to tighten these down. And then don't forget, put those caps back on there. It definitely does keep things a lot cleaner, for sure. And there we go. We're back in business. We get our tires put back on, we'll get our test down the road. But hey, hopefully that will help you guys out, save a few bucks at home. A little DIY project for you guys. And always like, share, and subscribe, guys, and see you guys next time. Later.